I'll make it plain. Engage your brain before your mouth's in gear.
Welcome to this week's episode of LdnOnt TV here on Rogers TV. I'm your host, Bronagh Morgan. It's a pleasure to be hosting the show for the past few years and talking to all kinds of interesting Londoners, people from southwestern Ontario, and also guests from all over the province and the world about the issues that people here in London and southwestern Ontario are talking about this season in particular. I was just chatting with our guest before we just started this episode, and housing has come up in pretty much every episode that we have run this year. And it's on everybody's minds, the affordability of housing, the availability of housing. And so why not talk to an expert? And so here we have one tonight. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
This is Kathy Amess. Kathy was recently, and how recently were you elected?
Well, I was
put in the
installed or
chair
whatever,
position.
January 1st.
January 1st.
A few days ago.
Assumed the chair position for the London and St. Thomas Association of REALTORS. Mm-hmm. You are the owner and operator of your own real estate. Is it a brokerage?
Yeah, brokerage, Blue Forest Realty.
Right.
Yeah, not far from here.
Busy lady, been in the real estate game for how many years now?
31. 31 last week. Yeah.
All right. So if you want to talk about this issue, let's talk to an expert. Thank you so much for taking the time today to come visit us.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So, Kathy, first of all, congratulations on assuming the chair position.
Yeah, it's been interesting so far.
All right.
Yeah.
So I assume that you've probably been on the board for a while. Maybe for our viewers who don't know about the association and what it does, maybe you could tell us a little bit of background about LSTAR.
Okay, so I've been on the board since 2020, so not a super long time, but a long time. And the London St. Thomas Association of Realtors represents about 2,400 realtors in the London, St. Thomas, and surrounding areas. And we're around to advocate for realtors in the community and for the clients that we serve. You know, we provide services for our realtors, like looking after paperwork and things like that. But then we also do discipline issues and advocacy and community involvement and other things like that.
All right. And so coming onto the board, I read your bio a little bit about your, because your bio, you've done a lot of things and you do a lot of things. So you're on many committees.
Yep.
So now as the chair, what are the different things that you have to, I guess, juggle in that role?
So, I mean, the chair, you do a lot of this sort of stuff and speaking at different things and representing the association and its members, you know, at different functions and that sort of stuff. You know, we have board meetings to discuss the things that we're going to do in terms of how the association is going to progress, tools we're going to provide to the realtors. We also represent the London board at the provincial level and also at the national level with our different associations. So if there's votes that have to happen, then we're the ones that get to deal with all that fun stuff too.
Sounds delightful. So you clearly you don't mind the administrative side of things. Congratulations.
No, I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah. Well, we need people that love that stuff. So more power to you. All right. So I guess talking about your career before, you know, or in addition to being on this board, realtor for 31 years.
Yes.
So
long time.
What makes somebody choose a career like that? I've used a realtor many times, and they're wonderful people. And when you have somebody who's a wonderful realtor that is helping you, you know, make probably the biggest purchase you're ever going to make, it's quite a relationship.
Yeah.
So what makes somebody choose that as a career?
Well, I was quite young when I started selling real estate. And for me, I mean, I always say this is a bit of a joke, but it's sort of true. But at the time it was like limited career options. Like I was waitressing and bartending, and I'd done that for a few years. And I mean, it's great. I honestly think everybody should do that at some point in their life because it teaches you how to manage people and multitask and, you know, deal with different situations.
Preaching to the choir here. I grew up in Niagara Falls, so lots of hospitality.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I think it's great that everyone should do it at some point, but I don't necessarily think it's a career for everyone long term. And for me, it certainly wasn't. So I was dating someone at the time who became a realtor, and his dad had been a realtor in Oakville. And his dad was the one that encouraged me to get into real estate. And I was like, I was a student at Western at the time and was just kind of on a path that I was in school, but I didn't really necessarily care about it. And so really I happened to fall into it.
So for people who are not involved in the industry as well, it really is a family business for a lot of people. Is it just because the lifestyle, it really, like, you have to kind of live that career, don't you?
Well, you do in the beginning, for sure. Like, in the beginning, you're a lot more, for lack of a better word, hungry for business. And so you're maybe a little more available than you would be otherwise. But, as you progress in your career, you can start to have a little bit more control over your time. You can have a little bit more control over sometimes the clients that you deal with. And that's sort of like the end goal. Like, the goal is to get to a place in your career that you can actually, these people become your friends, and you start dealing with, the generations. It's kind of cool when somebody's son or daughter calls you to buy a house, and it's like, you're not old enough to buy a house, and it's like, yeah, I am. I'm 28, and you remember them when they're little. So it's really neat to be involved in that process. Yeah,
absolutely beautiful. Yeah. And so now you're, I guess, working on behalf of a lot of people who are starting out in their careers. And so I guess people who are a part of this association, they benefit from the association in ways such as, networking with their peers and learning from their peers.
Yeah.
But you also, I think, work on behalf of people within your organization. You mentioned at other levels as well.
So yeah, we advocate for our business, for sure. Like, in the city, we advocate for our business in, provincially, and also with federal initiatives and things like that, like particularly with issues surrounding housing, or like recently in Ontario, the law under which we operate just changed. It was prior to December 1st of last year. It was the Real Estate and Business Brokers Act. And that was changed to the Trust and Real Estate Services Act, which is TRESA, if anyone's heard that. So our industry lobbied to get those changes made to increase the professionalism in our industry. One of the things we also lobbied for, which was on the behalf of our realtors, was to allow our realtors to incorporate just like every other profession. So we do a lot of that sort of advocacy as well, just, furthering the lives and goals of our people, really.
And at the same time, though, I know that you, with the organization as well as it personally, you really care about a lot of people in our community as well, because I know there's so much work that the organization, so LSTAR, as well as you do, to support organizations, charities, and initiatives to help people, in particular, in terms of getting people housed and
yeah.
So talk a little bit about that.
So LSTAR, the charities that we try to support are generally based on shelter or some sort of related to housing in some way. So we do a lot of charity initiatives. We have a lot of events and things like that to raise money for these different charities. And each year, each committee would decide where, in conjunction with our community relations committee, where those funds would go. So, we've done, I'm the chair of our golf committee, which last year we raised $53,000, which went to Mission Services and the Grace Cafe in St. Thomas. The year before, we raised $48,000, and that was split between 3 charities. We have a softball tournament every year. Not even sure how many years that's been going on, but for quite some time. And that committee would donate their money to other groups of charities. We also have like a Christmas gala every year. That one, the same thing. And so other events as well. And then our realtors donate $2 per month, $2 per realtor per month to Realtors Care, which is, Bill's gonna kill me, the CEO. It's across Canada, I believe. Sorry, Bill, if I'm wrong. And so Realtors Care distributes that money to different charities and then back to the associations as well, so that we can distribute it locally. So it's like the realtors are really involved in the community and really trying to support the community, because the community supports us, and those are all our clients. So we want to make sure that everyone is looked after.
Fantastic. Well, it's great, you love your job and you also love the community that you live in. So, and I can tell, our viewers can see that as well. We do have to take a break, Kathy.
Yeah.
So after the break, I'd love to hear more about, your takes on, the situation that we have with housing right now.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
we're going to do that after this commercial. So please stay with us. We'll have more with Kathy Amess after this.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Carbon monoxide is a deadly gas you can't see, smell, or taste.
Homes with fuel-burning appliances and/or attached garages must have working CO alarms installed outside all sleeping areas.
Don't let the silent killer get you. Install working CO alarms today.
I started with Rogers TV back in the summer of 2021. So I went to journalism school, so I had more experience on the other side of the camera, and so I thought getting some behind the camera experience would be better for career advancement. Some of the things that I've learned as a volunteer is how to set up the cameras, how to tear them down, how to set up commentators, headsets, things like that. I'd say just go for it. There's no really commitment for hours. You get the opportunity to meet a lot of great people, and you get to cover some great events. What it means to be a volunteer with Rogers is you get to connect to the community in ways that people don't necessarily see, like with hockey games or racing or baseball, things like that. I'd say just go for it. It's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of great people, and it's just a great time.
Welcome back to LdnOnt TV here on Rogers TV. I'm your host, Bronagh, and I've been having a really interesting conversation with longtime realtor, real estate broker, and now chair of the London and St. Thomas Association of Realtors, Kathy Amess.
Yep.
So busy lady, and thank you very much for taking the time to be here today and spend a few minutes with us and talk to our viewers about something that everybody is talking about, which is housing and making sure that people have a place to live and can afford a place to live. That's your bread and butter. That's what you do. So last few years, the real estate market has been all over the place. Pricing, in terms of just availability, like the size of the market, whether it's a buyer's market, whether it's a seller's market. Let's get some takes from somebody who knows.
You're 100% right. It's been all over the place. And like at the beginning, before the market went crazy at the beginning of COVID, I don't think anyone predicted what happened following that. If anything, everyone was thinking pretty much the opposite would happen. And, as everyone knows, the market went crazy there for a little while. Now we're in a more balanced place, which is, I know the prices are still higher than when all that started, but I think that we're now in a healthier market that is less frenzied, so that buyers can actually go and take a second look at a property, do a home inspection, put a condition in their offer. And sellers aren't so frenzied either, which maybe some of them aren't as happy about, but a lot of sellers are also buyers, so they're in the same market, right?
That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And so what is, as somebody who's been in the industry for so long, how does somebody like you adjust? How do you cope with that kind of situation? And how are your colleagues coping with that kind of situation?
Well, it was pretty stressful, when there would be, a property be listed for a few hours and it would have all these offers on it and things like that. And you used to hear all the time about how, realtors love this market. And I can assure you that realtors did not love that market, because most realtors want to do a good job for their clients. A lot of times you have personal relationships with these people, and it's very stressful to, we need to go see this house. Do you like it? You have to buy it in 20 minutes, and you have to buy it with no conditions, and let's hope everything is okay. And in most cases it was, but it's very stressful for the client. It's stressful for the realtor. It's just not the best situation for anyone. So the way to have it a little calmer is much better. I think sometimes people look at the market now and think that it's really slow, but it's hard when you're comparing it to something that was so what we weren't used to as well, right? So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, if you can say, what do you kind of anticipate? Where do you see things going over the next, few months, few years?
I don't know. I always say my crystal ball is broken because it really is. Like there's lots of indications that would say that the market is going to improve, and historically speaking, it does in the spring. And there's some talk of the interest rates going down a little bit, so I think that's going to get maybe some people off the fence. I think a lot of buyers are just sort of confused now as what to do because, one news article you read says that the market is going to tank, and then the next one says it's going to go crazy. And so as a buyer, you'd be like, I don't know what's going to happen. So the decision at that point is just to do nothing, right? So I think once some buyers get a little bit more certainty as to what's going on or some sort of direction, then you'll see things start to move a little bit.
And what role does your industry have? Like, do you have any kind of influence, I guess, over how things change, the things that are, controlled by the government or, building and...
Well, we lobby the government to do different things or to, like right now with the housing shortage and things like that. We do lobby the government to make changes or change policy or make different improvements and things like that. But the reality is we're one organization among many, and it's a really complex problem. Like I don't pretend to have the answer. I think probably what we're doing isn't the answer because there's still lots of people on the streets and lots of people that, need different housing options than what they have. So I do know that in the last election that it was a topic that all parties discussed, which was
Absolutely.
not something that normally that's not something that normally happens.
Right.
Like we actually had an office meeting to sit down and discuss the platform of, each of the three big parties, which is not something that we'd ever done in the past, but just particularly as it relates to housing. So it was interesting to see the approach of the, those people, but I think we still have a long way to go, and they talk about all these housing starts and they're going to build so many units. Well, the number of units that they're talking about building is pretty high compared to what we have been doing. So I think there maybe needs to be a different approach.
So not cautious optimism, more we could do, like, can we accomplish this?
Well, yeah, I think we can.
Okay.
I think we can. If people work together, then I think you can accomplish. I mean, this sounds all Pollyanna, but I think that for the most part, if people work together, they can accomplish most things, right? It's the key is working together. My office is on Oxford Street, which I drive down Dundas Street, east of Adelaide, pretty much every day now that the construction's actually done. And prior to COVID, that area is vastly different then than it is now, and it's sad. I think that we spent a lot of time trying to look after people's physical health, and we ignored a lot of people's mental health. And so, now we need to look after those people, and the major thing that improves that is housing.
Absolutely. So
yeah.
Housing for...
Yeah.
I think we hear a lot of politicians and people who work in this sector talk about that housing first approach, and that really is...
It is. Like it builds people's self-worth and, everything else. Like imagine if your home was taken away from you. That's sort of the basic rung
absolutely.
of needs,
like
right?
For those of us who, and I have been in that situation that I was like, okay, I'm scrambling today. And so yes, there really isn't much a much worse feeling than I don't know where I'm sleeping tonight.
Right, exactly. And especially the last few days, as we film this, it's cool. It's cold outside now, but the few nights before it was like, minus 25 wind chill or something like that. Like, the prospects of staying outside or not having somewhere to go with that's sort of grim for most people.
Absolutely. Terrifying. And also, but I guess if we can think of anything positive from this particular part of the conversation, is that idea, and I don't think it's Pollyanna at all, that really we all can play a role, and we can all, it really takes all of us.
Yeah, no, I think so, and I think that, I don't, I'm not giving up hope for sure. I think that it takes a lot more than a few people to do it, and I hope that people see the value in doing that for a community, not just for an individual person.
Fantastic. And so in your leadership role, I guess, with L-Star, what other goals do you have in your new position as chair? What else would you like to see your association working on and the members?
Well, I mean, it's difficult because I'm only in this position for a year. I was president-elect, or we used to be called president. We changed our name to chair in the middle of the year. Last year I was president-elect, now I'm chair. Next year I'll be past chair. So, I mean, you're not in the position for a very long time, but we've seen a lot of advancements in our career, or in my tenure. We're doing a lot of technology changes for our realtors, which is going to be better support for their clients ultimately. So, I mean, it's cool to implement all those things and improve things. And the public might not understand this or realize this is how it is, but it would be nice to see a province-wide data that all realtors share the same province-wide database. So we don't have barriers to doing our job geographically in Ontario.
All right. Well, on that note, let's get behind our realtors, because they get behind us. You're working with, people who are first-time, many-time home buyers, sellers. You're people who are working with the community to try and make sure people have a home and that home. And so what else is more, important than that? So thank you so much for taking the time today to chat with us. And we're going to have to take another break, but please stay tuned because we have some youth guests coming up for our last segment on this episode of LdnOnt TV.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Was that 4 or 5? He's lost count and still thinks he can drive. Do you think he knows that when he is caught and charged with impaired driving, he'll lose his license and a lot more? If he gets in his car, he'll face costs exceeding $20,000. Does he realize he could have a criminal record for his choice to drive? And it could be much worse if he crashes. I wonder what he'll be thinking tomorrow.
Have a hold on one at 15.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober.
Get your local sports fix with Goin' for Two, a show focused on sports and athletes from London and the surrounding area. Goin' for Two, Thursdays at 6 p.m.
Think before you say it. Don't wind up like me.
A jailbird.
Imprisoned by your tongue. Doing 1 to 3.
Is that with good behavior?
You got
Welcome back to LdnOnt TV here on Rogers TV. As per our usual, we're ending our show today with a conversation with a young person who you have met before. This is one of I think probably my first youth guest on this show of the very first episode that I recorded.
First or second?
Is a relative of mine, Rain. So thanks for being here, Rain.
Lovely to be here.
Lovely to see you again here at the studio. So lots of change since the last time the first time we chatted. You're, I think, high school student now, getting close to exam period, so lots of stuff on the go, busy human.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, getting to exam like the last couple weeks.
Oh, yeah. And so as a Beal student, I think you are downtown London a lot.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we were chatting with our first guest, Kathy, about was, the fact that a lot of people are unhoused in our city. And you've got to see that firsthand all the time when you're downtown.
Yeah, I mean, like walking to and from school, it's like it's all you see pretty much. Like, you know, waiting for a bus, going to get like something from the store, like in between classes. It's just like, it's really saddening to see.
Yeah, and I think there's probably, like Kathy was saying, there really is, I think, a role for all of us in just having empathy and understanding just what a crisis that is.
Yeah.
And whatever it is that we can do, whatever little way we can contribute to making people's lives better, whether it's just, you know, acknowledging people that are there.
Yeah.
And, yeah, talking about it, really, every little bit helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, and just like, you know, I've found that with most folks, at least that I'm around, like just going day to day when we're, you know, we're always around these people. So, and just like they're as much a person as we are. So it's just like we, you know, we hang out. It's just like they're people, we're people. And it's just, you know, we're as nice to each other as strangers are to each other.
Yeah, we're all neighbors.
Exactly.
We're all just as important in this city. All right, so a little bit about what's going on at Beal these days. Loving philosophy.
Yes, my absolute favorite course. Just, man, if you have a chance to take philosophy, take philosophy. It is the best.
So you never know what's going to inspire you when you go to a fantastic school like Beal, who has so many different programs for pretty much everybody. It's just a real gem of London.
Yeah.
And I know something else that you're really passionate about that's coming up in the next term is Beal Music Theatre. I absolutely loved the production last year. It was my first Beal Music Theatre production that I ever saw, Mamma Mia. What's the play this year?
This year, you can see it on the Beal Performing Arts Instagram, is Newsies. We are doing Newsies this year, so you know, like the newsboy strike of 1899, I think. Yeah, lots of like kind of tap dancey, like ballet moves and some. It's wild. It is a great time. And just, I am so excited to get to work on it.
What about other people who want to support what Beal Music Theatre does? Is there ways to advertise in your flyers or things like that? How can the community get involved?
Well, yeah, our program has, like, we have space for advertisements, like for pretty much anybody who wants to, you know, different prices for like a full page or just a little one. And they're very helpful to us. And of course, like, we have a person or like a company who sponsors our show. So, you know, if you're interested, then we've got lots of different ways to contact us. Me personally, I would just direct you to the Beal Music Theatre Instagram because I don't know whose email I'm supposed to give.
All right, no worries. We'll direct people there. And thank you so much. And absolutely, we'll hopefully see you in that show this year. So good luck with your auditioning. And thank you so much for tuning in today. So great to chat with Kathy Amess as well as Rain. And great to see you this week. I hope you tune in again next week for more LdnOnt TV. I'm your host, Bronagh. Have a great week.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
After a night out with your friends, there's always options for getting home safely. You could call your BFF, your mom or dad, whoever you can count on for a safe ride home. You could call your favorite cab company or 1-888 taxi guy, or you could use the Arrive Alive smartphone app to help you choose your ride. Be it a friend, transit, or taxi, getting home safely is app easy. Now available for iOS and Android devices. Visit arrivealive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive, drive sober.
Jeff from Chillin' and Grillin' with Jeff here, and we're back for